When you think of history-defining battles, a few big names probably pop into your head. Hastings, Waterloo, Gettysburg, the blockbusters. But what if I told you that the modern world, from the borders of Western Europe to the fundamental rights in our legal systems, was actually forged in a single, forgotten fight on a bloody field in France? What if the fate of 3 nations and an entire empire was decided on one sweltering Sunday afternoon in the 13th century? The year is 1214, and the Kingdom of France is on the verge of being wiped off the map. A massive international coalition, an Everybody Hates France supergroup, has assembled to finally crush the upstart French king. What happened next wasn't just another medieval battle. It was a chaotic, desperate struggle that would give birth to a nation, shatter an empire, and accidentally lay the groundwork for the modern Western world. This is the story of the Battle of Bouvines, the most important battle you've never heard of.
Section 1. The World on a Knife's Edge. To really get what a big deal Bouvines was, we need to rewind to the early 1200s. Europe was a messy, fractured patchwork of kingdoms, and at the heart of it all was a toxic 3-way rivalry between 3 very powerful, very ambitious men. First, you've got King Philip II of France, or Philip Augustus. He was clever, incredibly patient, and playing the long game. When he took the throne, his kingdom was basically just the area around Paris. He was surrounded by powerful nobles who technically served him, but the biggest of them all was the King of England, who controlled more of France than Philip did. For decades, Philip had been patiently, strategically chipping away at this English-owned Angevin empire, dreaming of a unified France under his control. His number one rival was King John of England. And let's be honest, history has not been kind to King John. We mostly know him as the whiny, greedy villain from Robin Hood, and, well, that reputation isn't entirely wrong. John inherited a massive empire from his famous brother, Richard the Lionheart, but promptly lost its crown jewel, Normandy, to Philip in 1204. It was a massive humiliation. John was obsessed with getting it back, and he spent a decade bleeding his own English barons dry with taxes to fund his great war of revenge. Rounding out our trio is Holy Roman Emperor Otto IV. Otto was King John's nephew, and his own grip on power was shaky at best. He was in a nasty feud with the most powerful pope of the era, Innocent III, who had excommunicated him and was backing another guy for the throne. For Otto, teaming up with Uncle John to crush the French king, who, by the way, was backed by the Pope, was a desperate roll of the dice to save his own empire. The final players were the powerful Counts of Flanders and Boulogne. They were French nobles who were fed up with Philip's growing power and figured they'd have a better deal if they sided with the invaders. So, the plan was set. In early 1214, this grand coalition would launch a giant, 2-pronged invasion. King John would attack from the south to lure the French army away. Then Otto would storm down from the north with the main force, sack Paris, and carve up France like a birthday cake. On paper, it was a brilliant plan. The Kingdom of France was about to be erased. Section 2. The Jaws of the Trap. At first, everything was going according to the coalition's plan. King John landed in western France and started his attack, and Philip had to make an impossible choice. He couldn't be in 2 places at once. In a move that was either genius or insane, Philip split his army. He sent his son, Prince Louis, south with a small force to just try and slow John down. Meanwhile, Philip took the rest of his troops and sprinted north to face Otto's massive invasion force. It was an incredible gamble. If either of his armies lost, France was finished. Down south, Prince Louis turned out to be a natural. He managed to trap King John's army at a castle called La Roche-aux-Moines. But right when it was time to fight, King John's nerve completely failed him. His local allies bailed, and he was forced into a pathetic retreat. His part of the grand invasion ended with a sad trombone noise. This was a disaster for the coalition. With John out of the picture, Prince Louis was now free to march his army north to help his dad. For Emperor Otto, the clock was ticking. His army was still bigger, maybe 9,000 men to Philip's 10,000, but his advantage was shrinking by the hour. Otto knew he had to crush Philip, and he had to do it now. He chased the French army across the fields of Flanders. On Sunday morning, July 27th, 1214, his scouts finally caught the French rearguard at a bridge near the village of Bouvines. Philip's army was stretched out and vulnerable, halfway across the bridge. He was trapped, or so Otto thought. There was a problem. It was Sunday. Fighting on the Sabbath was considered a massive sin, and Otto and his commanders actually paused to debate if they should attack. Philip had no time for that. When he heard his men were being attacked, he made a decision that would change history. He ordered the army to halt, turn around, and form up for battle. A writer at the time said the king then had the bridge behind his army destroyed. The message was clear: no retreat, victory or death. Against all advice and against the rules of the church, King Philip turned to face his enemies. Section 3. The Battle of Bouvines. Now, this wasn't some neat, organized battle from a textbook. The Battle of Bouvines was a 3-hour medieval bar fight under a blazing hot sun. The whole thing basically broke down into 3 separate brawls: the French right versus the Flemish, the center where Philip and Otto were squaring off, and the French left against the Count of Boulogne and some English knights. The real chaos was in the center. A wave of tough infantry from the Low Countries smashed into the French line and swarmed King Philip himself. They literally dragged him off his horse and onto the ground. For one terrifying moment, the entire future of France was lying in the mud as enemy soldiers tried to stab him through the gaps in his armor. He was only saved because his bodyguards went absolutely berserk, fighting their way to him and getting him back on his horse. And then, almost like poetry, the same thing nearly happened to his rival. The French knights in the center, enraged at seeing their king go down, launched a furious counterattack. They hacked their way straight to Emperor Otto. His horse was wounded and bolted, and Otto was almost captured. With his imperial standard, a giant golden eagle, captured by the French, Otto just fled. He ran for it, a decision that would cost him everything. With the emperor gone and the leader of the Flemish captured, the coalition's army just fell apart. Only the Count of Boulogne and the English knight William Longespay made a heroic last stand, but they were eventually surrounded and captured too. As the sun went down, the field belonged to France. It was a total, undeniable victory. Philip hadn't just survived. He had crushed a superior force that came to destroy him. He marched his celebrity prisoners back to Paris in a victory parade, where the people hailed him as a national hero. The battle was over, but the consequences were just getting started. Section 4, an empire crushed. A nation born. The fallout from Bouvines hit Europe like an earthquake, completely redrawing the map of power. For France, this was, without exaggeration, the birth of the nation. The victory united the country under Philip with a wave of patriotism no one had ever seen before. His power was now absolute. France wasn't a fragile collection of territories anymore. It was the dominant power in Western Europe, and it would stay that way for centuries. For the Holy Roman Empire, it was an absolute disaster. Otto IV limped home totally discredited by his cowardly flight from the battlefield. He was quickly kicked off the throne and replaced by Frederick II, the guy the Pope had wanted all along. The emperor's power was broken, and it changed the course of Central European history. But for England, the consequences were the most surprising and, honestly, the most important for us today. King John came home defeated, broke, and humiliated. His authority was completely gone. The English barons, who he'd been taxing into oblivion to pay for this disastrous war, finally had him cornered. Their rage at the Bouvines screw-up boiled over into open rebellion. Less than a year later, in June 1215, those barons forced King John to a field called Runnymede, and there they made him sign a document they'd written up. A charter of liberties that said the king wasn't above the law and that his subjects had basic rights. We know it today as the Magna Carta. As one historian famously put it, the road from the defeat at Bouvines to the signing at Runnymede was direct, short, and unavoidable. Without King John's total failure in France, the single most important legal document in the history of the Western world might never have existed. The Battle of Bouvines is one of those incredible stories that proves how a single day and even a single decision can echo for centuries. So many of these pivotal moments get lost in the noise of history. If you enjoyed digging up this forgotten battle with us, do us a favor and hit the like button and subscribe for more stories that shaped our world. And tell us in the comments, what other obscure but world-changing events should we cover next? So, when you think about the foundations of the modern West, a strong centralized France, a politically fractured Germany, and the Anglo-American ideal of limited government that started with the Magna Carta, remember Bouvines. Remember that sweltering Sunday when a French king, an English king, and a Holy Roman Emperor bet everything on one brutal afternoon. It was the day an empire was crippled, a nation was truly born, and a charter of liberty got the accidental push it needed to change the world. It was the forgotten battle that made us who we are.
Subscribe for more historical nightmares from the past.